Welcome to the She's Far From Home podcast. I'm your host, Katie, and we're here to share the stories of bold women who've packed their bags and built new lives abroad. From navigating culture shock to finding community and creating adventures far from home, these incredible women show us that the world really is ours to explore. So grab your passport and join us for some fun, laughter, and a whole lot of inspiration, because life's an adventure when you're far from home. Okay, so welcome to another episode of the She's Far From Home podcast. I'm your host, Katie, and today I am joined by Nikki. So Nikki is based in Koh Samui and does some incredible work that we're going to hear all about in just a second. So Nikki, thank you for joining me on the podcast today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I feel very honored.
Oh, you're
Um,
welcome. It's amazing. I can't wait to chat more to you and kind of learn more about your story. So maybe you can start by just telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, where you've lived, and where you are now.
yeah, definitely. So my name is actually Nicola. I get called Nikki here. It
Okay.
just tends to be here. Originally, I'm from a tiny little village in the very north of Scotland called John O'Groats in
Oh, yeah.
Canisby. I moved to the Netherlands when I was about 21 years old and lived there for 12 years. And together with my partner, we then moved to Koh Samui in Thailand about 11 and a half years ago now. So, yeah, this is where I'm still based now.
Wow. So what was it that motivated you to leave Scotland to head to the Netherlands?
So I used to be a dancer, a contemporary dancer, and I'd gone as far as I could with the training in Scotland at the time. So to complete my degree, I had to move away from Scotland, and the options at the time were sort of either to move to London or Leeds, or I auditioned for a dance school in the Netherlands in a lovely city called Arnhem, and
I've been there.
thankfully they accepted me. Oh, have you?
Yeah,
Amazing! I love it.
yeah.
It's such a good.
And now you find yourself in Koh Samui. I mean, that's a big transition, right? From the Netherlands to Koh Samui.
Yeah, definitely. A completely different way of life. Basically, what happened, we came here on holiday together, me and my partner. He had already been here on some family holidays and loved it. And well, yeah, the first time I was here, I got the incredibly sad news that my little friend Mikey had passed away. I was on the beach at the time when I heard it, only 26 years old. And yeah, it was all very sad.
Hmm.
Completely by chance, we came back 2 years later on another holiday, and I just happened to be on that same beach on the commemoration of his death, even though we were staying in another area. Just one of those moments that really made me kind of go, you know what, life sometimes really is too short. Like, you've got
Yeah.
to do it now while you can't, basically. And got a business opportunity while we were here. So on the plane going back, we said, do it, let's go for it. What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work out and we move back home, sort of thing, you know? So
I
yeah, we
love
moved here.
that. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the key things, right? It's taking those opportunities when they come up and always knowing that home is always there and you can always leave and you can always go back home. You know, just because you decide to live in a foreign country for a period of time doesn't mean that you can't always go home if things don't work out or feel right. And so you took
Absolutely.
that chance, what did you say, 11, 12 years ago, and you're still there in Koh Samui?
11 and a half years I've been here in Koh Samui now. And yeah, I
Wow.
love the
So
lifestyle here. I love people. It's wonderful.
what is it about Koh Samui that is so attractive for you?
The temperature, definitely. I love it. I love life in flip-flops. It suits me very well. When I
Yeah.
go home now, my feet get really claustrophobic when I have to go back to wearing like big winter boots and
Shoes.
stuff. Uh, Definitely. I love it's so beautiful almost everywhere you look here. It's stunning. I love the people. They're so friendly and kind and happy. I genuinely do think sunshine makes people more happy, you know.
Agree.
Uh, yeah, it's a really relaxed way of life, yet you still have sort of all the conveniences if you want them. You can still get them relatively easy here. There's a very big expat community here too,
Yeah.
a very nice expat community. I've been so lucky to meet as well, and the locals. You know, I've got lots of local friends as well that are just lovely, lovely people. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Is there anything that you miss from home, from Scotland?
salt and vinegar square crisps.
Yes. You know
Yeah,
what? I will die on the hill that the UK has the best crisps in the world.
down. Yes. When I go home, like it's just like
Mine is
Um,
pickled onion monster munch.
oh, also a favorite of mine. Love them.
So crisp. So salt and vinegar squares, that's what you miss most about home.
Well, obviously people. I've
Yeah,
missed
yeah, of
people more
course. Yeah.
material things. But yeah, proper tea bags too. I always have a big bag of Tetley in my suitcase when I come back after my holidays home and stuff like that. Or
Yeah.
my family that are coming, I'm like, what do you need? And it's always
Yeah.
like bags, crisps, things like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
people, essentially, that's obviously what I miss most than, yeah, more than anything. It's the people,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
family.
How have you found it kind of assimilating to the Thai culture and the Thai way of life? Did you find that quite an easy transition, or was there any sort of challenges or bumps that you faced early on?
Yeah, definitely challenges and bumps when you're trying to run a business here or trying to work together with the locals. They just have quite a different working mentality to what I was used to in coming from the UK or from
Yeah.
the Netherlands, and it felt quite frustrating at the start because I just didn't sort of understand their way of thinking, you know. So it took me a little time definitely to relax, basically, chill out and go, okay, let's just take a breath and understand that they just think differently to us. This is different. You're living here now. You're in there, you know, this is the way we
Yeah.
do things here now. So get with it basically and learn how to work together in harmony with the ties, you know, and not
Yeah.
get frustrated. Like timekeeping is one thing that, you know, we talk here about, oh, it's Thai time. So
Yeah.
sometimes I've had people who have got, you know, construction companies working on their houses and they turn up a week late, not like an hour late or something. It's like they'll turn up
No.
a week like, oh, sorry, a little bit late.
Oh, that's
Like, yeah.
wild. I think though, as Brits, we are pretty keen with our timekeeping, right? For us, it's like it's also a sign of polite, like, and respecting other people's time that you're on time. And so we expect other people to do the same for us. But I think, living in a country like Thailand, you're on their time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
It's
and it takes
exactly
really
that.
getting used to, right? I've experienced the same in the Middle East, right? In Egypt when I lived there, and you kind of have to let go of some of those British hang-ups that you have, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You've just got to sort of relax into it and go, it is what it is. If they come
Yeah,
today, great. If they don't, I'll deal with it and do it,
yeah,
you know, do it another day sort of thing. But yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
definitely that was quite a culture shock really to sort of get into that mentality. But yeah, I don't know, just there's such kind people here, you know, I really find that they in terms of material things, they might have very little, a lot more than what we would assume is like we take for granted. But the
Mm.
little that they do have, they're so kind with it, you know, they'd offer you their last bowl of rice if they thought you really needed it and stuff. And that living here just continually really touches me how kind the people are, you know. And if you have a problem, if your motorbike breaks down on the street or whatever, as long as you smile and approach them nicely, people will be so helpful and kind to you. It's just really lovely.
That's
Yeah.
so nice. Very different to kind of living in London, right?
I had a conversation with someone just yesterday and they'd said that they were in London and lost and asking people for directions and people were just like turning the other way and just didn't want to make eye contact and stuff. I was like, gosh, I can't imagine going back to that now. You know,
Yeah.
it's so
You often
different.
find, don't you, especially, when you travel around, especially places like Southeast Asia, where they perhaps don't have as much, material wealth or belongings as what we're used to, but they're always the most generous people with their time, with their resources, right? And you find that I found that across Southeast Asia in general. I lived in Malaysia, I found that in Thailand, I found it in Cambodia and in Vietnam, and I think in general, Southeast Asian people are just very, very generous and warm and welcoming and humble.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I do. And you know, they have that whole here in Thailand, the family culture basically, you know, like there'll be a little tiny house and they've got the granny and the grandpa and the mum and 10 kids and brothers and sisters and everyone and you know, whoever's got time and is there goes in and takes care of the kids, you know, and they pass the baby around and everyone just
Yeah.
sort of jumps in and they very much, you know, when the kids are old enough, they go away to work and it's their duty. It's really they take it really seriously that they have to then provide for mum and dad and look after mum and dad and stuff, you know, and I think that's really lovely as well.
It is, yeah. It's something that we don't really do so much of in the UK. Maybe it's something we did years and years ago, but I think now we've kind of lost that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the UK it's more the mums and dads tend to more have a sense of, oh, I need to provide for my kids and make sure that I'm leaving for them in my will enough that, you know, that they can
Yeah,
have a life and stuff rather than the other way around. And
yeah.
yeah, I'm not saying any right or wrong, you know, it's just it's very different and yeah. I love the family culture that they have here,
Yeah,
that they
it's
all,
lovely.
yeah, look after each other.
So I heard that you also do an incredible job of running a local dog shelter, and I would love to hear more about that. So would you be able to share the story of how that happened?
Yes, absolutely. So I could talk dogs all day, every day. This is not a
I
problem.
think a lot of us could. I could also. I love dogs. And
Who
actually,
doesn't?
the thing that I miss the most about living abroad and not really having like a permanent home is I can't have a dog. And that's been my biggest frustration over the last few years. But anyway, please tell us your story.
Yeah, I just want to say there, I totally get, like, I would be lost without my own dogs. I've got my own dogs here at home, but a really nice alternative you can do is just source one of your local shelters and go along and help them wherever you're living. Because I know from my shelter, for example, and all the other shelters here, we're all desperate for help, and we have a few regular volunteers that are in the same position. They can't have a dog of their own, so they come up and they get lots of doggy cuddles and their doggy fix at the shelter.
Oh,
Keep
yeah,
that in mind for
I
your
will
traveling.
do. Thank you.
So yes, the shelter that I'm running now is called Pariah Dog Koh Samui. It was originally founded by a couple. She was a vet, so that made sense. They had a vet on site all the time. She had to leave, and the gentleman that was running it asked me if I would take care of it for 2 or 3 months for him. That was back in March 2020, and I've never seen him again since. He basically didn't come back, which was,
Oh
yeah,
no.
yes, to
So
say
you
the
were just kind
least.
of left stranded with this shelter with these dogs.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, the pandemic did have a little bit to play with that, because at the start he couldn't come back. There weren't flights and stuff. But then, after the borders opened again and stuff, and I was like, hi, are you are you,
Coming
are you
back.
coming back? Like, hello. And
Oh
yeah,
no.
yeah, it's been four and
How
a
many
half
dogs were
years,
there when you took over?
just under 100, 99 dogs at the time, which was quite
Wow.
mind. Yeah. So I work
Incredible.
a paid job as well. I work a paid job. I don't take any money from, we're fully funded on donations at the shelter. We've got one paid member of staff, and everyone else is just helping out of the kindness of their hearts. So yeah, definitely learning how to juggle that, do a paid job and run a dog shelter, which
Wow.
is not something like I hadn't planned it. So it's not like I'd done
Yeah.
lots of research and said, okay, this is how you run a shelter. I was just like, oh, okay. Wow, this is a bit bad.
How did you feel when you realized that this was on you now to run this dog shelter? Like, how did you feel?
That's a really good question, because I honestly don't think I really believed it until earlier this year, like in the fourth year, that he was never coming back. Naive little me. I guess I knew long before that, and I've still to this day, he's not actually said to me, deal with it, I'm not coming back, despite me sort of asking him numerous times, like, I need to plan my life too. Can you just give me a straight answer? I got nothing. So I think it's only really earlier this year that I've kind of gone, right, he's definitely not coming back. Let's just get on with it and do it. But at the time, that's all I could do anyway. I had
Yeah.
100 dogs to care for, and I had been volunteering or helping once or twice a week whenever I could anyway, before the owner left. So I knew most of the dogs already, and had already sort of, I loved them. So what could I do? There's no way I was going to abandon them.
What an
And
amazing thing, though. I mean, I'm not sure there are many people that would have taken on 100 dogs just like that. I mean, that's an incredible thing to do. How many
oh,
dogs do you
thank
have there now?
So right now we have 48 dogs.
Okay,
Three of those have forever homes to go to, which is amazing.
amazing.
Uh, yeah, we're not taking new dogs in right now, because all of the dogs, bar four, all of them have been there for like at least 5, 6, some of them longer years, which is just, it's too sad for me. And the more dogs I take in, the less chance those dogs have of being adopted.
Right.
So my passion and my goal now is something that I really got into more about a year and a half ago. I started working together with a dog trainer called Robin, from Paws and Flaws dog training. She's based in Bangkok. She's amazing. She came to the shelter tour and visited us, and I think basically she sort of realized, like, yeah, this one needs help. I'm going to help her, and I'm so grateful. So she supports us with free dog training and advice. So
Wow.
our passion and focus now is really working with the dogs that we have. We're training them, we're providing enrichment, and that helps make sure that they're as happy as possible while they're still with us, but it's also prepping them for success when they do get adopted, so that the adoption, it goes much smoother then for both the humans and the doggies, and more successful adoption is what we want out there in the world, right? So
adopt, don't shop, right, is what they say. Yeah. What was the biggest challenge for you when you sort of realized, okay, these dogs were now under your care, you're responsible for this shelter? What was your biggest challenge during that whole process?
The biggest challenge for me personally, I guess, was learning how to juggle working 8 hours a day from a paid job and how to run a dog shelter on top of it, and same time learn about how to run a dog shelter, which I hadn't done before. I had no experience in, and it's a lot, it's a lot. So I definitely, as well, during the pandemic when donations were at an all-time low because everyone was having a tough time out there, there were no visitors because there were no tourists coming up, giving donations and spending time with the dogs. A lot of our team of helpers had to leave the country because of visa issues during the pandemic. Got really tight and hard for a while. So they all were just like, we've got to go. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Yeah, just sort of keeping a positive head on my shoulders and just going, it'll be all right, and trusting the process. And thankfully, the universe has always sort of come up with something for me. Some beautiful new helpers would pop up and go, hey, do you need some help? And I'd be like, oh, thank goodness, there you go. Things like that, So I'm so grateful and fortunate for all the support, the support that's been vital to helping do what I do, really.
That's amazing. If you, looking back on this journey, is there anything that you would have done differently with the dog shelter?
I don't know. I can't change that. So for me, that would be quite I always tend to sort of focus on the positive moving forward rather than reflecting. But if anyone else was planning on throwing themselves into the same situation that I was in, I guess getting help from the dog trainer sooner would have definitely been a bonus, because the difference that that's making to our dogs is phenomenal. And I don't know, really. That's a really interesting, tough question. I've never really thought about it because it's something that I can retroactively change, but definitely learned so much on the journey, to how I was 4 years ago running the shelter to now is different.
Have you had a lot of support from the expat community and the local Thai community?
Yeah, absolutely. The support is just really heartwarming, to be honest. We've had restaurants that have put on quiz nights and stuff for us to raise funds, local gyms that get involved and bring teams of people up, as well as doing fundraisers, bring teams of people up to actually do physical help for us. Like the lovely team that I've built now of it's mainly expats that are helping, live here on the island, that have a little bit of free time, and they turn up. They're so reliable. They're not getting paid. That's one of the biggest challenges I found trying to learn how to run a shelter like this, is that you need to rely on people, but you're not paying them. So it's very different to like my paid work. You're paid to turn up, do a job, do. When you're not paying people, it's very different, and you have to manage that a little bit differently, and just sort of learn how to do that successfully was also a big challenge, I guess. But I'm so grateful. There's such a lovely community here of people that have helped me, and also other dog organizations on the island, especially in the first few months and first couple of years. A really big shout out to a lovely guy called Mike from One World Sanctuary, and Terry from Terry's Happy Hounds. They in particular really gave me loads of advice and guidance. They were so busy with their own stuff anyway, but if I messaged them like, help, they didn't think twice about saying, yeah, we've got you. This is what you do. And, I had to learn about vaccinations and all sorts of things, and they've both got a much smaller social media following now than a lot of the other organizations. But, I am a firm believer of there's not a single dog shelter or organization here that's doing any better than the other.
Yeah.
Everyone does it a little bit differently. They do it in their own way, but I think everyone's amazing. People that want to help the dogs and are given the time and effort. It's just lovely that there's such a big dog loving community here.
That's amazing.
Everyone deserves the recognition and support.
So you really had to kind of learn quickly and learn as you go, right? Given that you had no experience in running a dog shelter and you're in a foreign country as well, and probably navigating local laws and regulations and things like that, you really had to kind of learn quickly and just get on with it. And amazing that you had those other dog shelter, that community around you, because I think it would have maybe been a little bit more challenging for you if you didn't have kind of that community, would you say?
Oh yeah, 100% for sure. I don't know what I would have done, to be honest, if I didn't have that help to rely
Yeah.
on. I never, I never say anything's impossible, so I'm sure I would have found a way, but it would have been so much harder, definitely, without those lovely, kind people giving me that help. But yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely, learning on your feet, like,
Yeah.
and to this day, when you're working in this sort of field, you're continually catching curveballs. You never know what the day's going to bring. You think you're
Yeah.
set, and then all of a sudden you're like, I didn't see that one coming. How do we deal with that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Guess that keeps
How
it.
many dogs do you have at home?
I have two of my own dogs, and currently I have one from the shelter here,
I was
Sandy,
gonna
injured.
say, is it really tempting to always like, you find a
Oh,
dog that you bond with at the shelter, it's like impossible to not want to bring it home with you.
yeah, yeah. My partner, luckily, is the one that puts the brakes on that. He's just like, whoa, whoa, two's enough here. And to be honest, I've learned as well, and I have to be strict on that because, for example, now I've got Sandy lying here recovering from a leg injury. If I had 10 dogs here myself, it would be so much harder to do that, to give the dogs the peace and quiet and the
Hey.
TLC that they need from me. And also, before dogs get adopted, I try to take them to my house for at least 2 or 3 weeks, depending on what stage they're at in their training, to do that initial desensitization
Yeah.
to, think TVs, just proper doors, living inside
Yeah.
rather than fences. It's much easier for the dogs to go through that with me that they trust already. And that then in turn makes it easier for their forever families. So again, if I had too many dogs myself, that
Yeah.
would be really easy. So that's the one thing that keeps me. I'd have them all at my house otherwise.
I
Would
love
just be
it. My biggest, yeah, I mean, I think one of my biggest wishes in life is to have two dogs. I want two dogs. No, no babies,
oh,
no children, just dogs. But I think that I need to be a bit more settled before I do that. I'm always gallivanting around somewhere. I mean, I'm in Australia right now, so yeah, pretty
I,
difficult to have a dog. But one of the
yeah.
things that I've loved about being in Australia actually that I don't see in Malaysia, because obviously I've lived in Malaysia for the last 5 years. I would never see dogs. Like I was living in the city center of KL and I would never see dogs. And I've come to Australia and walking around Sydney, for example, every other person has a dog. And I'm literally like, oh my God, there's a dog, there's a dog, there's a dog, there's a dog. And I'm like, I want to pet them all. And my friend said to me, oh, she was out at work and she said, oh, did you do anything today? And I was like, I pet a few dogs.
Um,
So yeah,
I,
I think what you're doing is absolutely incredible. So how have you then, because you were saying, you work 8 hours a day, you work a normal job, right? How have you found how have you split your time? Like, how do you manage your schedule?
So yeah, first and foremost, the company that I actually work for, they're called Uni. We sell pizza ovens. They're an incredibly kind
I think
company.
my brother has one. Like,
Really? Yeah.
I think it's like this, right? And then you can put it on a surface.
Portuguese pizza oven.
Yeah, I think that's what my brother has.
Oh, we'll have to chat later more about hooked up with some gear. But yeah, they're all dog daft as well at Uni, which is a massive help, and they're very kind. Before I accepted the position with them, I had to say to them, look, this is this situation. I'm running a dog shelter too, and obviously there's an emergency with the dogs if I need to go to the vet or something. And they were like, all right, we've got you. And I know, like, without fail, my manager will have my back if I need to run away to the vet or something happens.
Mm.
My manager and my whole team will just basically, they understand it and they're so kind about it, thankfully, because otherwise I don't know how I'd be able to cope with it. But the team that I'm a manager for are based in the Philippines and Australia, so I can work my normal schedules from 6 a.m. until 2 p.m. at my pay job, and then I wrap up and I head up to the shelter and I spend the afternoons at the shelter now, which
Right.
is when we're building out really developing the training and enrichment side of things. So that's when that team come up and we all work together in the afternoons
Yeah.
normally. And then the weekends, I go up in the mornings and stuff as
So you're
well.
literally kind of at the dog shelter 7 days a week at some time in the day.
I do try to take a Sunday off
Okay.
now. Back like at the start, yeah, it was 7 days a week, definitely. I've got some lovely, very reliable people now that go up and do all the medicine rounds on Sunday mornings for me. So I do try to take a Sunday off. And I say try because, like, yeah, there's always things happening. Like this Sunday just passed, I had to go up. That's when Sandy injured himself. So I had to go up and look after wee Sandy and get him settled back here and stuff. And there's always emails and social
Mm.
media, stuff like that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
But
It
it
sounds
doesn't
like
feel like
it sounds
dogs,
like you've
right?
got a good balance, right? That you've got you've got your job, you've got the shelter, you've got great support from within the community, the local community. It sounds like you've set it up, or you've kind of set yourself up for success, really, and you've got lots of kind of systems in place, if you like, to help you manage this successfully.
Thank you. That's nice feedback to hear. Yeah, I guess I'm definitely in a much better place now than I was 4 years ago for sure. I've learned a lot along the way, and we've got a really good, strong team now, that also really love the dogs and support me, and the support we've built up in the community here and stuff as well as my
Mm.
my work community, like really supportive. And my friends, my friends and my family that are here just understand the situation. And I'm a pretty rubbish friend right now in terms of I just don't have time to go out and see people and do all the fun things that I
Yeah.
used to do. And they never hold it against me. They understand, like if they're having a little
Mm.
dinner party, they make me a little plate of dinner, bless them, and drop it around to me and say, we didn't want you to miss out on the dinner. We know you couldn't come. And that
Yeah.
support is just, that it just warms my heart, like not
And it makes it
everybody has.
easier for you as well, right? Because then you're not feeling guilt, or, your friends, they get it, they understand, and it helps you to also do what you need to do for the shelter without that
Yeah.
feeling of guilt, or like I'm neglecting my friends, or.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
If
I'm really,
if there are people listening to this podcast that are, coming to Koh Samui, visiting, and they would like to get involved and help, or come up to the shelter for the day, how can people get involved?
so please do get involved is the first thing. We always are happy to welcome visitors and need extra help. So whether you're just wanting to pop up for a few hours or come, a couple of times on your holiday or whatever, send me a little DM on our social media pages or send us an email. I can give you all those details and arrange a time. Come up, I'll give you a little tour. You can meet all the dogs. We love extra people coming up to help take dogs out for walks. We're not at the stage yet where I can get all of the dogs out walking every day, and obviously that's the goal. That's one of my dreams, so the more and more help that we can get on that side of things,
Yeah.
the nicer it is for the dogs. If people, even if you're not on the island, if you want to do a little fundraiser, and we are supported 100% by the kindness of humans. We run on donations only. So any interesting ideas you have on how we can raise funds and stuff as well, I'd love to hear things like that. If anyone's a whiz on social media, that's my absolute downfall. I am so rubbish at it. We hit
Sure.
3,000 followers on our Instagram just yesterday, and I was like, yay! Yeah, exactly, right. And then I was like,
Celebration.
my friend was like, you need to post that. I was like, I feel a bit shy to share it because 3,000 followers in this day and age is like, it's so minuscule. And then I had a word with
But
my,
yeah, a win is a win.
exactly. I had a word with myself last night. I was like,
Yes.
yeah, that is a win. You are, you're going in the right direction. And we always say at the shelter, you have to celebrate even the tiny wins because
Absolutely, absolutely. So what I'll do then on the podcast as well, if anybody listening, watching does want to get involved, I'll put your social media handles in the descriptions. I'll tag you across social media as well. So hopefully we can get some support coming your way.
that would be amazing.
Yeah, no, and I'm sure there are lots of people out there that would love to help and get involved. What are your hopes, your plans? Do you have any plans for the future for the shelter?
So my plan is to continue improving our training skills. Basically, we're going to continue working with Robin at Paws and Flaws, leveling up the training for the current dogs we have. I don't ever see myself filling the dog shelter up again. I don't think that's the way forward, or I don't think that's what the island needs right now. What I would really love to do in the future, once I've found more forever homes for the doggies that I have, I want to be able to offer like a kind of a foster service. So if the other shelters have dogs that are being adopted, the paperwork process for that, if they're going abroad, normally takes about 4 months. So I can say to them, if you want, you can send your dog to me and my team for 4 months, and we'll really intensively work with them on the training and the enrichment so that when they are adopted, it's a much smoother transition for the dogs and the humans.
Nice. Yeah.
And I think that's something that a lot of the dogs here that are being adopted could really benefit from, because I've seen the difference now personally in my dogs that have been adopted this year, and it's just so nice seeing them settle in and
Must be so
and just
rewarding for you as well that, when you see a dog going off and being rehomed, being adopted, that must be such an incredibly rewarding feeling for you.
oh, it's the best. It's what makes all the tough stuff, all the knockbacks, all the tears. It's what makes it worthwhile, when you get that, yes,
Yeah,
sort of,
yeah,
you just, and I
yeah.
keep in touch with the owners and the dogs too, and they send me
Amazing.
little, my heart just like, yay, it's so nice to see, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's incredible. No plans to head back to the UK anytime soon then?
No, not until I found at least 48 other forever homes. Well, no, I've got
But you think, Thailand is home for the foreseeable future?
I still always call Scotland home. I love Scotland. I love
Yeah,
my roots and where I'm from. If I don't go home at least once a year, I do get a little bit homesick.
yeah,
But I love the lifestyle here, and I can't ever see me wanting to leave this
yeah,
for the foreseeable future. But again, you can never say never. For me, my friend Stuart gave me some really good advice when we were sat in the pub
yeah.
in I ran a pub in Holland. We were sat in the pub and we were like coming in. He knew we were deciding would we move to Thailand or not, and he said, Nicola, if you're going to do it now while your parents are still young enough that they can come visit you and enjoy it. Because the longer you leave it and the older they get, the harder it'll be to move away from them and live so far away. And
Very
that advice,
true.
so spot on, and I
Yeah.
was like, yeah. And I really remember that advice to that day. And yeah, the older my parents get and stuff, the harder I guess it will be to be so far
Yeah.
away. That is scary.
I was going to ask
Definitely.
you, what advice would you give to somebody that wanted to leave their home or wanted to travel abroad and settle down somewhere else? And I think that's probably you probably just nailed it, right? Do it. I think just do it while you pet and also while your
Yeah.
parents are enough that they can come visit.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so lucky. My mum and dad normally come every year here. My mum used to come for like 3 months.
Yeah.
My dad's still working, so he'd come for like the last 3 weeks or something, and they love it, and they're like local celebrities on the island too. They walk into some of the local bars, and everyone's like, "Hey, mama, papa," and just like greet them so warmly. So I'm so lucky. Without that, I think I'd really struggle more,
Yeah.
or probably get a bit more homesick. But yeah, anyone that's thinking about doing it, if you have that burning desire, just do it. And the sooner you do it, probably the better it's going to be. Because definitely for me, if you're close to your
Yeah.
family, then the older they get, the scarier it is, I think, to
Harder.
move.
Yeah. That's
And also
amazing.
just remember that like technologies these days, I mean, look at us. You're in Australia, I'm in Thailand, we're having a wee chit chat here and it's going perfectly. I can't imagine years ago how people managed to go and live at the other side of the world without
No, I know.
do this and having to write letters and wait weeks. That's hard. So just remember that although it is a big world, you're really only ever a plane journey and a
And
little
a
phone
phone
call
call,
away.
a little FaceTime.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Nikki, for sharing your story with me today. It's been so, so interesting. Like the work that you're doing, it's so inspirational and it's selfless. And I think the world needs more people like you doing what you're doing. So thank you
Oh,
for
thank you so
sharing your story.
much.
And hopefully there are some people out there that will be inspired by this story to either get involved with a local charity or to get on a plane and go out and explore the world.
Like get on a plane and come to Koh Samui and hit me up
Yes,
and come
I
to
can
dogs.
confirm it is amazing. Koh Samui is incredible.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about your travels as well at one point. So you'll have to come back
I
here
I
when
will,
you're
and
ready to walk
I
your
will be
dog.
back for sure. I'll be back in Koh Samui very soon. But I've got like a minute left, so we'll just wrap this up, and then I'll give you a quick call back after.
Okay. Thank you so much for your
It's on
time.
a time. It's on a timer. So
I
yeah,
know that we get that at work too
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. But yeah, thank you so much, and I can't wait to come and see the shelter next time I'm in Koh Samui.
I would love it. I'm really honored that you took the time to speak with me. So thank you very much for
Thank
your
you,
time.
Nikki.
Have a nice day. Bye.
You too. Bye.